Hey, hey, yeah, hey. Dream team be rowdy. What? My team do a blitz every county. Look, my God put a price on your past the hand, and I'm pulling up for the bounty.
Shalom, Most High, Christ bless, Officer DeWater, IUIC, CT, Connecticut, that is. I'll pray to the Most High. And I have who with me?
Shalom, Israel, Most High, Christ bless, Officer Seth here, all praises. Another hammer time here. Let's go.
Who I have to my left?
Hey, Most High, Christ bless, Officer Joseph that kid. Let's get it.
Now we got to get straight into it. Shout out to the bishop, the deacons, the captains, and the brothers putting in work, all right? We got to get straight into the edition of Hammer Time. Let's hit it.
A stain on Florida's past may soon finally be resolved. After 7 decades of pain and struggle, family members of the Groveland Four may finally get their wish. Earlier this year, newly elected Governor Ron DeSantis posthumously pardoned the men who were wrongfully accused of raping a white woman in 1949.
I think that the way this was carried out was a miscarriage of justice.
Now, state leaders are making the final push to completely exonerate the men.
In addition to a bill calling for the Groveland Four to be fully exonerated, Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried also introduced a proclamation today calling on the state to make this right.
Yo, officer, this stuff is crazy.
Yo.
That's why the Lord does stuff like this. Because if we don't get through stuff like this, if the system doesn't oppress us like this, we're not going to listen. Right. That's why he said in Hosea 6:1, come and let us return unto the Lord. Because we don't be going to the Lord for our problems and our issues and stuff like that. So we get jacked up in this judicial system. We go return to the Lord. Now we putting our hands up. Right. Now we praying. Now we saying, "Oh Jesus, please save me from this white man." Right? For he hath torn and he will heal us. Even though he breaks us down in this system, right? It's only for a short time. Right. It's only for a short time. When we get restored, when we come back to our nationality, he's going to restore us to our greatness.
Right, because that's very important, because our people think that they can run to Christianity. No, you running right back to the same oppressor. You running back to the same oppressor. So that's why I'm glad you brought that, as far as we got to return back to the Lord, because when we return back to the Lord, now the Lord can bring forth judgment, like it said in Isaiah 59, right? Isaiah 59 and verse 9. Therefore is judgment far from us. Right now, judgment is far from us. The things that happen to our brothers, do you think that's the only case?
Hell no.
Exactly.
Hell no.
It's many more of our brothers and sisters that was wrongfully accused of, quote unquote, the white woman. Oh, he raped me. Man, there's plenty of our brothers still locked up from way back in that time, and even in this time.
In 1920, in the midst of a mob of thousands, 3 black men were brutally lynched in downtown Duluth. Over 80 years later, the same streets were filled with another gathering, this time to reclaim the soul of the city by dealing with the presence of the past. In the early 20th century, Duluth's economy was being forged at the U.S. Steel plant. In the face of demands from labor, the company leveled the ever-present threat of replacement workers. In this case, blacks from the cotton fields of the South were lured north with good wages. This gave rise to racial tensions in the port town. But in June of 1920, it wasn't steel workers, but circus workers who would be at the center of a racially charged storm. The John Robinson Circus was in town as part of a tour of the Northland. Jimmy Sullivan and Irene Tuscan had spent the evening at the circus. The couple encountered black workers who were loading circus cars. What happened next is not clear. We know now that there was no sexual assault. But a few hours later, Jimmy called the police and reported that Irene had been raped. The Duluth police hauled half a dozen black circus workers to the city jail on Superior Street. By morning, on June 15th, rumors, hate, and hysteria bred the beginnings of a lynch mob. The mob headed east and ominously gathered in front of the police station. By evening, as darkness fell on Duluth, the mob moved on the jailhouse.
The Commissioner of Public Safety, a man named William Murnian, did not want the police to use weapons. In fact, as he is quoted, the commissioner said, "I don't want to see the blood of a single white man shed for these niggers." The police had no power to do anything against this mob. As they were brought out of their cell, they were punched, kicked, spit on, and they were taken up the hill. It was a block from the jail. They clearly knew what was going to happen to them.
In keeping with the tradition of American lynching, the night was consecrated with a photograph.
This is a striking photo in its horribleness. I mean, these are folks who wanted to get in this picture.
The next day, the nightmarish news would spread.
The New York Times editorialized, the Chicago papers, and there were a number of, and the Duluth paper itself editorialized against the mob activity. But there were papers that supported the mob. The most striking thing was, to me, was a comment by a local citizen. His comment was, "Why all of this fuss? After all, they was just niggers."
So that's what it said. Therefore, is judgment far from us. Neither does justice overtake us. We ain't get no justice, right? We wait for light, but behold, obscurity is not there. But watch this, though. This is the point, because you said we got to come back to the Lord.
That's
so
right.
when we come back to the Lord, verse 17, for he will put on righteousness as a breastplate, meaning the Lord, and an helmet of salvation upon his head, and put on the garments of vengeance.
He need that.
The Lord said he's going to put on the garments of vengeance, because them brothers cried plenty nights in them jail cells.
Absolutely.
Them brothers' life been ruined in them jail cells. You know what I'm saying?
No help.
Their family was ruined. Think about it. They had kids. Their life ruined.
Generations.
Generation upon generation. That's why I said what? Salvation upon his head, and put on the garment of vengeance for clothing, and were clad with zeal as a cloak. Watch this, my last point. According to their deeds, according he will repay fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. Thus said the Lord. We got to come back to the Lord, bro. We got
to. All praise Most High.
Channel 9's Carla Ray listened in on that Tallahassee press conference. And Carla, the legislation being introduced has bipartisan support.
Yeah, and the point here is that there is a difference between a pardon and an exoneration. A pardon excuses someone's crimes. An exoneration makes it clear no crime was ever committed.
You see how crafty this white man is?
Yeah.
He's still going to pardon the brothers, right? So they're guilty, but we're going to let them go.
What?
But if they exonerate them, they know that they're innocent, right? So they do not want the black man to have any kind of innocence with him.
Right.
If they see black, is guilty. Black, bad.
No
right?
doubt. No doubt.
That's what the Lord said. We got to wait on him. We got to wait on him, right? Look, Romans 12. He said, "Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves," because boy, when you see stuff like that, you want to do something. But he said, peace, patience, right?
Yeah.
But rather give place unto wrath, for it is written, "Vengeance is mine. I will repay," saith the Lord. I ain't got to do nothing.
We got to do nothing. We just got to keep God's commandments.
That's
and
it.
let
That's
the Lord fight the battle. But like you said, sometimes you want to, you get mad. But it's like, hey, these things are happening to us because we're breaking God's commandments. So we must come back to him. So I'm glad you're right. You're on point with that, bro. You're on point.
Considered one of Central Florida's greatest injustices, it has been 70 years since 3 black men and 1 black teen from Groveland were falsely accused of rape.
Charlie Greenlee, Ernest Thompson, Samuel Shepard, and Walter Irvin.
Today, Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried called once again for a full exoneration of the Groveland Four.
History books should reflect the truth. The Groveland Four were falsely accused of crimes they never committed.
In July 1949, Sheriff Willis McCall investigated claims from a 17-year-old girl who said she was kidnapped and raped on a dark stretch of road outside of Groveland. Records show 22-year-olds Samuel Shepard and Walter Irvin were beaten into confessing, along with 16-year-old Charles Greenlee. And Ernest Thomas, who was 26 at the time, was shot to death by a sheriff's posse when he tried to run. Evidence later collected by the FBI and others showed inconsistencies in the young woman's story, as well as a medical report that did not confirm she was raped.
So you sitting here and telling me, officer, that we looking at that they forced these brothers to confess. When I say forced, meaning they beat our brothers, they killed our brothers.
That's right.
And then the woman lied, said, now we're getting the result that they lied, that there wasn't no evidence of rape. They did all this back then. These young men, bro.
The story of the Trent Six began in a cluttered used goods store early on a Tuesday in 1948. On that morning, owners William and Elizabeth Horner were attacked in their North Broad Street store by a group of assailants who initially posed as customers. The 70-something Mr. Horner was left for dead in the back of the store, while up in the front, Mrs. Horner was riddled with multiple wounds to the face and back of the head. Mrs. Horner was able to stumble outside to call for help when the attackers fled the scene. When the prosecution started their case, they wasted no time getting their star witness, Mrs. Horner, up on the stand. In a dramatic moment, she moved across the courtroom to point out Collis English, McKinley Forrest, and Horace Wilson, and declared that those were the men at the scene of the crime. However, during cross-examination, it was revealed that she recognized none of the defendants when in a lineup at police headquarters 10 days after the attack. Probably the most important piece of evidence in the trial was that of the defendants' confessions. Controversial from the start, the defense argued that they should be inadmissible, while the prosecution knew they were crucial to achieve a guilty verdict. While all the men besides Horace Wilson confessed to involvement in the crime, the stories were all different, and now in court all men claimed either being threatened and or drugged into signing letters of involvement. On the witness stand, Collis English and James Thorpe claimed coercion, while Cooper, Forrest, and Mackenzie all claimed to ingesting food, drink, or cigarettes given to them by the police that seemed to impair their ability to function. John Mackenzie said that after smoking a few cigarettes provided by a police guard, he started seeing things, and Ralph Cooper reported, "After I drank the coffee and smoked a cigarette, about 10 or 15 minutes, I started feeling right sleepy." McKinley Forrest alleged he was given a cup of water that had a pill dissolving in it. All three claimed that after those respective experiences, the following week was a blur, including the time when they signed their confessions.
At that time, wasn't no black man trying to rape no white woman, man.
Hell no.
Come on, man.
Little kids, man.
Little kids. So that's why I pray our brothers and sisters get this right. Isaiah 61 in verse 3. It said, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion. If that's not mourning, I don't know. How in the hell these fake Jewish people claiming to be us? Talking about they ain't some mourning. This is mourning of the real Jews that been going on for generation after generation until our people, right? It said that mourn in Zion to give unto them beauty for ashes. Damn. We got to get some damn beauty because all I see right there is straight ashes. And then it said, the oil of joy for mourning. Our brothers' lives been ruined. Their kids' lives ruined. Their mothers' lives ruined. Their dad, the whole family lives is ruined. Passing that trauma on down to another generation, bro.
Destroyed. That's why Solomon said this. There's no new thing under the sun. Right. Now look at that.
Right.
I'm thinking about the Central Park 5.
Right.
Young boys out there just doing their thing, and what happened? Oh, he raped me. Oh, he raped me. Now boys locked up. Now brothers getting killed. Little ass boys getting locked up for what? White lies.
Right.
We know that justice delayed is justice denied, and we should have nothing short than full exoneration. So I totally support this bill, and I know that the cabinet will do the same in due time.
Today, Republican State Representative Anthony Sabatini joined Democratic State Representative Geraldine Thompson, who's been asking for full exoneration since 2014, introducing bipartisan legislation to exonerate the Groveland Four once and for all, following their posthumous pardon earlier this year.
That's what happens when you excuse the conduct of an individual who is guilty. You pardon them. But exoneration clears their name and acknowledges their innocence, and that is the reason that we are here today.
Whatever they do with their system, right? Pardon, exonerate, whatever the hell they do.
Right.
Israelites on this side, we don't give a damn what they do.
Right.
We know that the scriptures say, as for us, our eyes have yet failed for our vain helps. We're not trusting in America. We're not trusting in Babylon to come save us.
Never.
He said, and I watch for a nation that could not save us. Who's going to save us? Christ, the Black Messiah, he's going to do that vengeance. He's going to give us justice. Right. We're not looking for justice from this white man.
Why? Because what? 1940s? Did we get justice in the 1800s?
Nope.
Hell no. Did we get justice in the 1900s?
Nope.
Hell no. Are we getting justice today?
Hell no.
Hell no. It's the same pattern over and over again. But guess what? The Lord shall come back. Watch this. Jeremiah 30, verse 16. Let's see what the Lord going to do. It said, therefore, all they that devour thee, look at it. We've been devoured. Our brothers' lives was devoured back then, and our lives are being devoured now. It said, therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversaries, every one of them,
everyone,
shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be spoiled, and all they prey upon thee will I give for a prey. Thus said the Lord, because we can't do nothing, but the Lord surely can. And that's why colors matter. Don't let nobody tell you nothing different.
Right.
Welcome back to CBS Mornings, where we have got a story for you. Earlier this month, 35-year-old Sheldon Thomas walked out of a Brooklyn, New York courtroom free after almost 2 decades behind bars. Thomas was arrested back in 2004 for murder after an eyewitness pointed to a picture of a guy named Sheldon Thomas in a police lineup of photos. But the man in the image was actually a different person entirely, happened to have the same name. And as we step through the circles of absurdity here, that guy also had no link to the case. Nevertheless, prosecutors continued to focus on the Sheldon Thomas they had in custody, which eventually led to his wrongful conviction.
You see, officer, that's proof right there. They don't give a damn who they put in prison as long as they put black bodies behind those cells.
Right.
Because that prison industry, that's the new slave plantation.
No doubt.
That's the new slave plantation. And they don't want us saved out of there. They want to take us out. They want us back there for life.
Right.
Young brother.
Right.
16 years old, 17 years old, come out almost 40 years old. You lose your whole life.
Mass incarceration means that we've got a very high rate of incarceration historically, comparatively. And the other thing is the rate of incarceration is so high, so socially concentrated, that we're no longer incarcerating the individual, but we're incarcerating whole social groups. The rate of incarceration now is about 5 times higher than it was historically. Historically, it was 100 per 100,000. Now it's about 500 per 100,000. If we look at prison, if we add jail to that, it's about 700 per 100,000. Nowhere in the world incarcerates as much as we do. We've seen extremely high rates of exposure to the criminal justice system for African American men with very low levels of schooling. So if we think about black men who were born in the late 1970s and who are growing up through the American prison boom of the 1980s and the 1990s, the chances that they're going to serve time in state or federal prison if they dropped out of high school is about 70%. So going to prison for that group of black men with very low levels of schooling, that's become a normal life event. And that's really only happened in the last 10 years. We're at this point now where there's about 1.2 million African American children with a parent who's incarcerated. That's about 1 in 9. The research shows the kids who experience parental incarceration have diminished school achievement, they have behavioral problems, depressive symptoms, acting out. And there's also evidence that these kinds of negative effects associated with parental incarceration are concentrated more among boys than among girls. And there's a very real risk here that incarceration becomes an inherited trait. The underlying issue is we've chosen prison as a way to respond to that problem of crime. And there are a whole variety of ways that we could have chosen to respond to that problem of crime. We've chosen the response of the deprivation of liberty. And we've chosen the response of the deprivation of liberty for a historically aggrieved group whose liberty in the United States was never firmly established to begin with.
That's why he said in Revelation 12:10, he said, now is salvation come, and strength in our kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. They don't give a damn. They always want us behind bars.
Of course, because now that's the new business, like you said.
Absolutely.
That's the new business commodity. Put the black man in jail so he can further be a physical slave for me now. But guess what? Nobody's going to repay him for those nights he up all night because there's a lot of stabbings.
Fighting.
Trauma. No, ain't no telling how many people he done seen get killed in there. He didn't mention none of that.
Yep.
He didn't tell what really happened in there. How many times that he had to fight for his life every night. You know what I'm saying? And we know it gets rapists in there. You understand what I'm saying? So you got all these variables in prison for...
Albert has been a Crip since age 12. He's one of the first generations of the Los Angeles-based gang, a group known as the original baby gangsters. His seniority puts him near the top of the Crips' national hierarchy. Here in Lebanon, he runs a criminal syndicate of roughly 50 men.
I want the Mavericks tonight, man. Say I got you. I got you, man.
They compete with a dozen other gangs to financially exploit the inmates. The Crips' rackets include extortion, gambling, and drugs.
Because that's the life of a convict. You gotta survive in this institution and basically survive when you're not free is by all means. Any and everybody that ain't your friend is your enemy. You got to eat.
The gang leader is constantly on the lookout for new inmates. They offer Albert an easy opportunity for extortion. The Crip reveals his technique for shaking them down.
A guy comes in, I'll take him. When they call chow, I'll go down into a cell, ask him, homie, you going to chow? He's like, yeah, cuz I'm going to chow. And I walk to chow with him, let him know I'm there.
After offering friendship and protection, then he turns the screws. Albert will take the inmate into a cell or empty stairwell and demand payment, money, gifts, or service. If he refuses, it gets ugly.
I say it with aggression, with my face expression, and basically I go in with no shirt on and my gloves in my pocket so he'll see him. If you know he's soft, slapping, or just grabbing by his throat, choking for a good 10, 12 seconds, and he'll come around.
Many new inmates don't realize their prey until it's too late.
20 years. Damn. We just look at it as 20 years like you just sitting back and relaxing. No. 20 years of survival in the prison system. But guess what? We got to come back to our God, bro.
That's it.
We got to come back.
Thomas talked to our Lilia Luciano just days after his release in his very first TV interview.
I waited for this my whole life.
Sheldon Thomas was 16 when police took down the door of his home and locked him up. Now, 19 years later, he's been effectively exonerated.
How have you been sleeping?
I really haven't.
Yeah.
I've just been resting, not really sleeping.
Yeah.
Still trying to grasp the fact that I'm not in the cage anymore, that I'm actually being treated with respect and love and dignity.
The way you're seen, the way people look at you, the way people talk to you or listen to you.
Like a human. Because when you're behind the walls, you don't get that. You get the worst of mankind. They say the worst, do the worst, treat you the worst. And in a crazy way, sometimes you start to feel as if they're right. After it's been done to you for so long, constantly, you start to feel like, well, maybe they are right.
You lose sight of your own humanity.
And that's the psychological chess that goes on within.
She's gonna ask the brother, Are you okay today? How are you today? You know he's not good.
Right.
You know he's not good. His mind is sick. He's the walking embodiment of Deuteronomy 28:65. It says, and among these nations shalt thou find no ease. Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. For 20 years, that brother been behind jail fighting his life, right? But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and a sorrow of mind. That brother has trauma. That's the sorrow of mind that he cannot fail. He cannot free himself unless he get into these scriptures.
Right. And it's a damn shame that you telling me 20 years, no lawyer, nobody could dig into his case. It had to take 20 years of this brother. The brother is broken.
Done.
That's why the brother is really broken, man. The brother's broken. I pray that our brothers more like him and, you know what I mean, out there in the streets, you know what I'm saying, whether you're in a cage or out, you know what I'm saying, we got to come back to the Lord. And that's why it's important for us to get on the streets. Because the damn pastor ain't going to heal a brother.
Absolutely.
That's why we got to do this like Christ said in Luke 4:18. It said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he have appointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. We the poor right there. Man, that brother did 20 years, bro. That's poor. Ain't no Jewish people in the damn jail for nothing.
He can afford no lawyer.
No, none of that, right? And then it says, he have sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives. You know what I'm saying? That's not only physical, but we also captive in our mind.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But now this brother was captive in the physical form, and he get out and he's still captive. He's not even a full strength as a man yet. You understand what I'm saying? But that's why our job is important, to move these fake pastors out the way.
Get him out of
this fake religion, so we can do what he said. He said, the captives, and recovering the sight of the blind, which our brother is, to set at liberty them that are bruised. Man, we're a bruised community because this stuff happens on a daily and it's not talked about enough. So we pray that our brothers, you know what I'm saying, get the message that we not only got to free the body, but we got to free our minds and know who we are as Israelites.
Absolutely. So your brothers in the yellow and the red, get out on them streets, burn the fat, and teach your people.
Thomas was convicted for second-degree murder in the December 2004 death of a 14-year-old boy in Brooklyn. Attorneys William Caston and Leslie Ressinger have worked with Thomas for more than a decade. They say the case should have never even made it to trial.
How much of his case was based on lies?
100%. From the police interaction to him, every party failed him in the system.
In a pretrial hearing, a detective lied, then admitted to lying on the stand, and the case still moved forward.
He is arrested based on a photo that is not his.
The people involved in decision-making refused to accept the fact that a mistake was made. How can a jury reach a fair verdict? It was rigged from the start.
Officer. You sit here and tell me this detective lied. Twice. So shouldn't he pay the same time that he forced our brother to do?
That nigga need double time.
I'm with you. He should get damn double time for that. For lying on our brother to have him in there 20 years fighting for his life.
Right.
While he at home with his wife and kids every day. And still probably being a detective.
Yup.
I guarantee he probably still a detective somewhere.
Doing that to more brothers.
And ain't no telling how many brothers he did that before that brother. So guess what? This is what the damn detective did, or this whole race. We got to come out of this damn judicial system. We got to come out of these politics. We got to come out of these religions. We got to come out thinking these people are our saviors.
Hell.
And then when we get in court, we looking for, help us. They not going to help you.
Never.
They were never made to help us. Right? This is Psalm 10, verse 7. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud.
That's the white man right there.
Right there, our brother was fraud. It said, under his tongue is mischief and vanity. We seen the mischief, right? But watch this. He sitteth in the lurking place of the villages, in the secret place, doth he murder the innocent.
Damn.
Did he not just murder our brothers with 20 years?
That's death.
That's death.
He lost his whole life.
He lost his whole life. That's why I say, bro, it's important. We are the saviors, bro. Because we got to give them messages like this. Isaiah 14 and verse 3. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, like our brother was crying, and from thy fear and from the hard bondage where we was made to serve here in this damn Babylon the Great. It's a damn shame what he did to our brother, man.
Yo, that's why. Let me show you this right there. He said, Proverbs 17:15. He that justifieth the wicked, that damn devil lying twice, that's the wicked.
So wait, the judge should get in on this too.
Yes,
the
they all
damn
need
judge
it.
should damn go to jail too.
All need this word. And that he that condemneth the just, my brother was innocent. He was just. He was justified in the end.
Right.
Even they both are abomination to the Lord. You know how the Lord feel about abomination.
Right.
Fire and brimstone for you.
Death and destruction.
That's right.
The unit that reviewed his case after years of failed appeals concluded that Thomas was denied due process at every stage and found one of the detectives involved had been harassing Thomas after a prior arrest and lied about knowing him.
Did you ever feel like they were targeting you specifically?
Most definitely. It was wrong. It was illegal. And they shouldn't have done it. This is why all this burden is placed on me to this day.
It should have been the other way around. You're innocent until proven guilty.
From my lenses, where I see life, it's always like that for people like me. For people that look like me, it's always like that. You're guilty until you actually prove that you're innocent.
Nearly 2 decades later, he finally stepped into what still feels like a mirage of freedom.
I haven't even cried yet since I've been home. Like, I haven't even got to the point where it actually hit me. I still have dreams about being in prison. I'm scared to go to sleep.
You're scared you're dreaming.
Yeah. As the days go by, it dawns on me a little bit more, a little bit more.
Yo, officer, we don't even need Deuteronomy 28 to prove that we're the Israelites.
Right.
Look at this. Isaiah 42, verse 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled.
Right.
He's been robbed of his nationality.
Right.
He's been robbed of his freedom. Right?
The Jewish people been robbed?
Hell no.
Okay.
They the robbers. they are all them snared in holes. This judicial system, these courts, they are snared in holes to lock our kids up from when they're young, all the way to the old, right?
One of the things that people have to bear in mind is that when we think about slavery, it was an economic system, and the demise of slavery at the end of the Civil War left the Southern economy in tatters. And so this presented a big question. There are 4 million people who were formerly property, and they were formerly kind of the integral part of the economic production system in the South. And now those people are free. And so what do you do with these people? How do you rebuild your economy? The 13th Amendment loophole was immediately exploited.
After the Civil War, African Americans were arrested en masse. It was our nation's first prison boom.
You are basically a slave again. The 13th Amendment says that, hey, except for criminals, everybody else is free. Well, now if you're criminalized, that doesn't apply to you.
They were arrested for extremely minor crimes like loitering or vagrancy.
And they had to provide labor to rebuild the economy of the South after the Civil War.
What you got after that was a rapid transition to a kind of mythology of Black criminality. Go back and read the rhetoric that people used then. They would say that the Negro is out of control, that there's a threat of violence to white women.
And they are hid in prison houses. They are for prey. They hunt our steps when we're young. They don't care where we are. They have. That's why they want us on the block. That's why they have the music the way they do. That's why they have the movies, the social media, all the social engineer destruction in our minds, so we end up in prison. And none delivered for a spoil, and none says restore. But that's why the Most High bring the prophets out in the highways and byways to teach them. Black Messiah is about to come and restore justice to the nation of Israel.
That's right, because that's our job to be able to restore the people, because the church ain't going to do it.
Hell no.
And what leaders do we have in our community today?
Al Sharpton?
Al Sharpton? Who else?
Barack Obama?
Not.
No.
I think not. We are the saviors. We the ones got to make the message plain, like you just brought out, through the scriptures or the spirit of the Lord, right? That's why also it said this place got to be destroyed. But Nixon's brother did 20 years, man. The brother said he can't even sleep. They said the detective was messing with him already. Then he gonna lie, say he didn't even know the dude.
Damn.
And the detective still living a nice, peaceful life.
Carefree.
You understand what I'm saying? That's why I said in Nahum 3:1, woe to the bloody city, meaning destruction to the bloody city. It is all full of lies, like they lied on our brother, and robbery.
That's what they do.
That's what they do. But our people don't understand it because they love their oppressors. But they don't understand this. Habakkuk 2:4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. The white man ain't right. He can't get right.
He can't.
So that's why we got to separate from him, right? It said, one more, I got to bring this.
Bring it out, man.
Because this brother got to have peace. He said he ain't got no peace, right?
He needed scriptures to give him peace, man.
This is 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17. This is what we got to do to inquire of the peace of our Father. It said, wherefore come out from among them and be ye separate, said the Lord. The Lord telling us to separate from these nations, man.
Get away from them.
And it said, and touch not the unclean thing. They go in a variety of things. They go into the religion, the politics, the judicial system. Because we think these things is there for us. No. It's not there for us, officer.
It's a lie.
It said, what? Touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and I will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, said the Lord Almighty.
Oh, praise.
Only if we knew that, that'd give us peace, man.
That's why we needed prophets.
Yeah.
Mr. Sidney Holmes served 34 years of a 400-year sentence for armed robbery. That's right, I said a 400-year sentence. Now, he always maintained his innocence throughout, but he was looking at what amounted to a life sentence until the Innocence Project of Florida got involved. They said there was no physical, no scientific evidence, there was no corroborating witnesses that actually linked Mr. Holmes to the crime. And he had an alibi. He had an alibi. And on Monday, do you realize the charges against this man were dismissed? He was 22 years old at the time of his incarceration. Now, here he is at the age of 57, and he's hugging his mother after being released. Mr. Sidney Holmes joins me now, along with Brandon Scheck, who is a staff attorney for the Innocence Project of Florida. Mr. Holmes, I am so grateful that you're here to talk to us today, and I truly thank you for coming. We've all watched this video of you hugging your mother. Maybe people don't necessarily know your story, and I'm glad you're sharing it today, but you've always maintained your innocence. What has this been like for you to have spent 3 decades for a crime you did not commit?
Well, I never gave up hope. I refused to give up hope. I refused to allow myself to just say, quit. You know, I was 22 years old, and I was sentenced to 400 years in prison. A state prosecutor told me the only way I would leave prison would be in a body bag, so I refused. I didn't ever took that into consideration.
How do you
keep...
Go ahead, sir. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Excuse me.
I was never going to accept giving up.
Hey, officer, we got our brother Sidney Holmes, sentenced to 400 years in prison.
That had to be a message, though, Cap.
Absolutely. 400 years served, 34 out of those 400 years went in there when he was 22 years old. No evidence of him committing the crime. He had his alibi, right?
Right.
And they dumped the books on this brother, man.
Man, that's crazy. 400 years, they didn't have no evidence on.
Right.
You know, no witnesses. He had an alibi of what he was that still didn't line up to nothing but his jail time of 400 years, Cap.
I mean, I don't think none of these is coincidental. None of it. All of this is deliberate. What they're doing, right? They understand the scripture a lot better than our people. Mark 3:27 tells you what? When the strong man is out of the house could be destroyed.
Right.
If they don't destroy our people, our brothers, through the jail system, they do it through the drug system. All right? They pin the spouse against the other.
Right.
The black woman against the black man, right? Either way, they do whatever they could do, or turn them homosexual also.
Right.
They do whatever they could do to get the black man out of the house.
Get the black man out of the house and then destroy our damn nation. But guess what, Cap? That's why Psalms 89 says, Psalms 89 and 14 said, justice and judgment are the habitation of thy throne. That's why Christ, he said, look, God looking down said, look, don't worry.
Right.
Justice and judgment is my throne. They gonna get they behind punished.
And I believe that's the hope the brother got.
Right.
Because he said that he didn't lose hope.
Right.
He understands that there's going to be something coming for these people that did him wrong. Like judge him wrongfully.
Right.
He understands it. You in the spirit when you brought that up. So,
The idea that someone would tell you that.
That was gut-wrenching.
How did you keep your mind and your faith strong? I mean, that would take a toll on the sanest of men.
My mother and my father, he's unfortunately not here today, but they was the two who kept me strong.
You know, Brandon, people are hearing about the numbers, and I have been a prosecutor. The idea that someone had 400 years of a sentence for an armed robbery, I mean, homicide convictions result in far, far less. How is this even possible that that sentence was handed down?
It's unimaginable. Keep in mind that the state of Florida asked for an 825-year sentence, and the trial judge said, well, perhaps that's a little bit too much, and so he handed down a 400-year sentence. Essentially, this has to do with, back at that time, a life sentence would have made Sidney eligible for parole after 25 years. A term of years sentence, a 400-year sentence, ensured exactly what Sidney said, that but for this ultimate relief in vacating the conviction, he would have left prison in a body bag.
Hey, Cap. Yes, sir. They gave this brother 800 years. Wow. So if they would have gave him a life sentence, he could have made parole. He could have got parole or a chance, you know what I'm saying, after 25. After 25 years, that still sounds ridiculous for something you ain't do.
You ain't commit. Right?
You ain't commit that. We still thinking like, oh, maybe he committed. No, the man did not do it. And they gave him 800 years, but then they said, you know what? We'll just give you 400 years as of now.
But I'll tell you how unjust this system is, because one of the officers brought out, right? So they have this brother grouped up. They have a Brandon Sion, right? Got 400 years for molesting children. Then another Christopher Matthew Davis in Georgia got 841 years. And this brother here got 400 years also for committing abuse against children. But this brother here, Sidney Holmes, did not do any of those.
He didn't do nothing. He didn't do
nothing horrific.
Right.
It reminds me of the SPLC, right? Putting us on the top 3 list of the hate groups in America. And we never committed any crime against anybody. Never shed blood, never burned a cross.
Right.
And they got us in the same group, right? So this whole system got the whole righteous judgment upside down.
Upside down. And it's funny because you mentioned the SPLC of our time today, right? They the main ones was putting $1 million back into the KKK, back into the...
Good afternoon. Today, a few minutes ago, in the Middle District of Alabama, a grand jury returned an 11-count indictment charging the Southern Poverty Law Center with 6 counts of wire fraud, 4 counts of bank fraud, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. According to the charges in the indictment, the SPLC is a nonprofit entity that purports to fight white supremacy and racial hatred by reporting on extremist groups and conducting research to inform law enforcement groups with the goal of dismantling these groups. As the indictment describes, the SPLC was not dismantling these groups. It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred.
Hate groups of the world, but they supposed to be judging to my standard of hate. They supposed to be protecting that, but they was influencing it with the
Behind-
Esau
yeah,
behind the
behind
scenes,
closed doors, right.
but attacking us. You know what I'm saying? Trying to make it seem like we the bad guys. But guess what?
Yeah,
The Lord got something for that.
What
This
he
is
got?
Psalms 58:1. It said, "Do you indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men?" Talking about the nations.
Yes.
Oh, ye sons of men, because ain't no sons of God. We the sons of God.
Absolutely.
Oh, ye sons of men, watch this. It said, "Yea, in heart ye work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hand in the earth." The violence of this man's hand is beyond our eyes, bro.
Absolutely.
Beyond our thinking.
Remember,
But the
they
Lord
wise.
know.
Yeah, they wise beyond what we think, man. They think years ahead. And they know that by giving this brother 825 years, they trying to destroy this man's soul.
Not only him, Cal,
Right.
the generations up under him.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And above him, because the man didn't even get a chance to see his dad. His dad passed.
Passed away. I'm pretty sure they didn't give him permission to go to the funeral.
Not at all, Cal.
Because they wanted to make an example out of him.
Right. But guess what? The Lord gonna make an example out of their behinds.
Absolutely. We can't wait.
For real. Get your popcorn ready.
Even the idea of 25 years for a crime you did not commit is 25 years, obviously too long. But the idea that there was an opportunity to have a different sentence that could have resulted. How did you two even connect? How did this case get to the attention of the Innocence Project? Sydney, did you reach out in some way? How did this happen?
I reached out to the Innocent Project, and I went through a process, a screening process. And then I also reached out to the CRU, and they collaborated with the Innocent Project.
When you hear about the evidence, and you know what, I used the wrong term, because I don't think there was evidence, gentlemen. There was an alibi. There was no direct, even circumstantial, I understand it. And the thing that tied Mr. Holmes to this, Brandon, I understand, was just the color of the car he was driving. I must have read that wrong. Did I?
No, that's absolutely correct. The perpetrator in the crime was driving a Oldsmobile Cutlass, a brown Oldsmobile Cutlass. And in our post-conviction investigation over the past couple of years, we reached out to a Oldsmobile museum, an Oldsmobile historian, who told us that that was actually the most common car on the streets at the time that this crime happened. And so we're talking about the most common car, the most common color, and that's what connected Sydney to the crime, when really there would have been hundreds, presumably, of these exact cars on the streets, maybe thousands in and around Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
So I'm looking at this brother here, man, and you could tell his spirit is crushed, right?
Right.
They don't destroy the man's life, man. He's trying right now. You could read him. He's trying, right? Trying to explain the situation. But 400 years for simply driving while black in America.
That's crazy.
That's ridiculous, bro.
Yeah.
But look at what Isaiah 10:1 says. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decree.
Yeah.
That was an unrighteous decree
Right.
that they dumped on the brother's head, man.
Right.
400 years, made him serve 34, right? Lost his father in there. And that's the technique that Esau's got against our people.
Right.
They want to see our souls destroyed.
Right. And they ain't the only brother that they did this to. This is the brother we pull up today, and we get some understanding about it.
Yeah, we're going into many of those.
Many
Give us some
situations like
righteous
that. Let's just put this in perspective. Okay, a car back then to a car today that, you know, probably most popular. I just say a Hyundai.
Right.
A Honda,
Right.
you know. Or I'm getting in my silver Honda, and I'm just driving to work or coming from work, and I get pulled over, and next thing you know, I'm in jail. I'm like, what am I going to jail for? Next thing you know, I'm still in jail, telling me I need a lawyer, or probably they ain't give me no lawyer. Then I go to court, then they say, look, you got 400 years.
400 years.
Just like that. This just happened to my dad like that.
Crazy.
That's why we got to put it in perspective. That can happen to us today, or that doesn't happen today. That may happen yesterday.
Absolutely.
Because we still in the same system, and we still in the same cycle of these damn devils. You know what I'm saying? That's why we need to gather ourselves together and really understand this Bible, Cap, because we lost without it. You know what I'm saying? This is our hope. I know the brother said he had, you know, some hope or whatever, but he needs this pure hope and this pure righteous judgment that the Lord's going to bring down, because Can't no reparations amend that.
They cannot repair him.
They can't repair that.
They
brother.
cannot give him $1 billion if they repair the damage that did to him.
It ain't gonna work.
Mr. Holmes, what will you do now? I mean, we see the obvious joy that there must be, which is the understatement of a lifetime, to think about what that release must have felt like. But what now? What support do you have in place? And frankly, the lawyer in me wonders, is there a case to be made or compensation that will be given to you from the state of Florida who convicted the wrong man?
Well, I can't comment on that because I really don't know.
Well, let me ask your lawyer, what is the answer? Is there a plan? What is next for this gentleman?
So this is the next tragedy in a series of tragedies in this case, is that in the state of Florida, Mr. Holmes is actually not eligible under the state statute for compensation because he has a prior record prior to this wrongful conviction that he served 34 years for a crime he didn't commit. Florida is actually the only state in the...
Why is that at all relevant? If this is the crime that he had a wrongful conviction for, why is that possibly the case, Florida?
Because that's what the state law says. There's a bill going through the legislature right now that would actually change that and make somebody like Sidney and others eligible for compensation. But as of right now in the state of Florida, under our state statute, he is not eligible. It's insane. It's crazy. It's another tragedy, like I said, in a series of tragedies in this case.
Hey, truth be told, Brandon Scheck with your balloon face, right? You nor your people care for the brother Sidney Holmes, all right? Because if you did care, you would understand that it's unfair and the brother is indeed in need of funds, in need of reparations.
Right.
You destroy his life.
Right.
You as a lawyer, you as part of the system should be fighting hard, right? For that to be overturned or made an exception for this brother.
Right.
You do not care, Brandon Scheck, because your people don't care.
Right.
You might be Amalek. You sounds like an Amalek.
Right.
Amalekite. All right? You don't care. So we're not expecting you to care, but at least show some decorum while you're on camera with your big face.
Right. And the answer for our brother, the brother said he ain't got the answer. We got the answer for it. Burn the whole damn place up.
This makes me want to burn this motherfucker down. Come on, Boogie, let's burn this motherfucker down. Come on. Boogie, let's burn this motherfucker down.
That thus said the Lord.
Right.
Revelations 18:4. Get rid of everything. The whole earth got to go. That's why this whole place got to go and be replenished with the righteous, which is the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that keep God's commandments.
So you mean we can't refurbish this?
Oh no,
here?
you can't. There ain't
We
no
can't
fixing
be
this.
kumbaya
No,
and peace, hope?
no, that shit ain't gonna work.
Right.
We got to come back to keeping these law, statutes, and commandments, so this place can be burned the hell up. Watch this. Revelation 18 and verse. I'm gonna start at verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people. Get the hell out of these judicial system, politics, religion. Get the hell out of it." It said that you be not partakers of our sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. Right. I'm gonna jump down to verse 6. Reward her, meaning America, even as she rewarded you. We can't pay the place back.
No.
We can't do that. We got to remain patient.
Absolutely.
But God said, look, I remember this. You may forget. We forgot about all the cases that our brother went through, and all the several brothers and sisters went through these similar cases. You know what I'm saying? Some of them ain't here to do an interview because they dead. They died in jail. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I said, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works. In the cup which she have filled, fill to her double. That's what needs to happen to this place.
Absolutely. You in the spirit. You in the spirit when you say that. But another thing that I'm thinking about is how can we utilize this case to fortify us? Right. We in this truth. We have this spiritual walk, and knowing that they're gonna persecute us.
Right.
Unrighteous. Right. They're gonna convict us of accuse us of things that we never did.
Right.
We already enlist. They already got our pictures and all that. What can we do? This is what Revelations 2:10 says.
Bring it out.
It says, "Fear none of these things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prisons, that ye might be tried, right? Because guess what? While you're in there, all type of evil thoughts are gonna come through your head. Man, these brothers never cared for me. No, that's just what we signed up for.
It's the trial. That's what we gotta go.
We're gonna go through worse than Mr. Sidney Holmes, to be honest with you. All right. And we cannot let our thoughts,
deter our faith.
Deter our faith. As it says there, it says, ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death. So be willing to die in there with your faith up, right? Knowing that we are here praying for you. Because some of us, we will not be able to see one another again. We're going to be transported to different areas and all that. Remain faithful, says the Lord, right? And this is what it says. And I will give thee a crown of life. That's what we need at the end, our crown of life. So remain strong through all these false accusations that are going to come against us.
Right. So we got to strive for this tooth unto death, like Sirach 4:28 say.
Absolutely.
Get the spirit, Cap.
Well, I've been trying to say something about our criminal justice system. This country is very different today than it was 40 years ago. In 1972, there were 300,000 people in jails and prisons. Today, there are 2.3 million. The United States now has the highest rate of incarceration in the world. We have 7 million people on probation and parole, and mass incarceration, in my judgment, has fundamentally changed our world.
Hey, officer, of course, the brother mentioned it's different from the 1970s up to now. Of course it's different. Why? Because it's a plethora of reasons. First of all, when we left about the plantations, of course they had to come with these laws, different laws to get us, you know what I'm saying?
Right, they changed everything.
They had to change everything up because why? Okay, we let them free, but let's put them back in cage by locking them back up for simple crimes. You know what I'm saying? Being black while driving. You know what I'm saying? All these things, whatever the case may be. And also, too, on top of that, the truth had begun to come out in the late 60s, on the end of the 60s as well. So these elite white people understand the scriptures of who we really are, especially here in America.
And the thing is, this is how we know that they know the scriptures, right? The scriptures say there's a particular tribe here in the United States that's going to wake up the rest of the tribes of the children of Israel. When you read in Zechariah chapter 2, it says that, deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. So we know that Babylon is the United States of America. The Israelites are here. So like you said, in the 60s, that's when Judah started to wake up. That's when the civil rights movement started. That's when the truth started to spread back up in the earth. Why you think he said in the video, it went from 300,000 incarcerated to now over time, as soon as Judah started to wake up, to 7 million. They know that the children of Israel are here. They know that this tribe in particular is going to bring down the system.
So let's just bound the strong man house.
Exactly.
So we can continue to keep them oppressed as long as we can. But guess what? That shit ain't going to work.
No, it's a wrap now. It's a wrap now.
In poor communities and communities of color, there is this despair, there is this hopelessness that is being shaped by these outcomes. 1 out of 3 black men between the ages of 18 and 30 is in jail, in prison, on probation, or parole. In urban communities across this country, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, 50 to 60% of all young men of color are in jail or prison or on probation and parole. Our system isn't just being shaped in these ways that seem to be distorting around race, they're also distorted by poverty. We have a system of justice in this country that treats you much better if you're rich and guilty than if you're poor and innocent. Wealth, not culpability, shapes outcomes.
Hey, of course, officer, he said 1 out of every 3 male. Of course, reason why, because we big targets out here in these streets. You have all these police in our communities. Well, you think the rich folks don't commit no crime? Well, how the hell you think they got the money? Matter of fact, how the hell did they get this country? Was it by, I bought the land from the Native American Indians?
Stole it.
Or I just kick in the door and go and rape and rob and pillage?
The media often portrays us as like these sad, like poverty-stricken people.
You know, there isn't that focus on who we are today.
We live on the poorest county in America. It's poverty-stricken, but just because we live in poverty don't mean we're poor.
Do you feel American?
Nah, I've always been taught we were Indian. We were Lakota first before we were anything else, before we were Christian, before we were American. They took everything from us. America's built on stolen lands. America is a stolen country.
We used to live with everything, you know, and now we're on these little reservations and we're all clumped together, and we shouldn't be like that.
Like non-native Sia says, these historic people with loincloth and headdress.
Because you see the Washington Redskins, you see the Cleveland Indians, you see all of that, and it's a big joke. And
you understand what I'm saying?
Took everything.
They took everything, but at the same time, they don't really tell you how in school, the school systems that we have in our community are jacked up. We're not getting taught anything.
Right.
So, of course, it's many reasons. Then on top of that, the rich people have money to go to jail. They have the money to get themselves out of jail, out of jams when they're really guilty. But a black man, you know what I'm saying, really innocent, don't have enough money, and guess what? They get him a court-appointed lawyer, and next thing you know, he's guilty.
And the thing is, what's crazy is that they destroyed us spiritually, right? Mm-hmm. They broke us down in slavery, and then they put us in the conditions where now we can't physically get ourselves together. Right. Either. So like you said, and like the dude was saying, the rich, they be guilty, but because of the resources that they have, they can get away with it.
Right.
But us, majority of the time, a lot of the time, we be innocent, but we don't have the money or the resources to get ourselves the proper lawyers, the proper documents, the proper proof, the proper evidence to get off on a lot of these cases. That remind me of Job chapter 15, where it talks about bribery.
Yeah.
Bribery, where you use your influence to get something negative out of it. So that's why, like you said, a lot of these rich folks, they got the money, they got the resource, and that's how they get away with a lot of stuff. For us, they put us in the worst.
Right, and that's the scripture where it says, Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 12, it says, wisdom is good with an inheritance. Verse 12. For wisdom is a defense and money is a defense.
Right.
White folks got money.
Right.
So they have a defense.
And guess what? We don't.
That's why we got to come back to the wisdom so we can have a defense.
Exactly.
And yet we seem to be very comfortable. The politics of fear and anger has made us believe that these are problems that are not our problems. We've been disconnected. It's interesting to me. We're looking at some very interesting developments in our work. My state of Alabama, like a number of states, actually permanently disenfranchises you if you have a criminal conviction. Right now in Alabama, 34% of the black male population has permanently lost the right to vote. We're actually projecting in another 10 years, the level of disenfranchisement will be as high as it's been since prior to the passage of the Voting Rights Act, and there is this stunning silence. I represent children. A lot of my clients are very young. The United States is the only country in the world where we sentence 13-year-old children to die in prison. We have life imprisonment without parole for kids in this country.
Officer, this is how slick and crafty America's system is, right? So we just saw earlier how America stripped and broke down our spirit to start with, right? They broke us down. Then they put us in a condition where now we don't have no resources to try to build ourselves back up. Now, like the scriptures say, Solomon said, give me just enough so that I don't have to steal. Because the environment that you're in will produce you to act a certain type of way. When you ain't got no money, you got to do what you got to do to survive. Now they put us, they know that. So they put us in these situations where we ain't have no money, and now we commit crimes. But now to bring us back into slave times, they'll say, okay, you want to commit the crime? Now we're going to take away your legal rights. That's why it's not happening in Caucasian neighborhoods. It's only happening in black and Hispanic.
You can say it.
Black and Hispanic neighborhoods, because they created the condition. They make us commit these things and do these crimes. Now they say, okay, now you're criminals. We're going to take away your voting, for example. It's all by design. Man.
Right. And even though they did give us, quote unquote, right to vote, it still don't even matter. You know what I'm saying? In their system, you know, they still act like, you know, our people are trying to rally together, think they're going to get into politics and thinking, okay, let's vote, let's do this and do that. And then you get into the system is jacked the hell up.
Right.
And then the brother said, we disconnect. Yes, we are disconnected because we disconnect from our Father, like it said in Isaiah 59, you know what I'm saying? Like our iniquities has separated us from our Father. So we have no Father right now. And when you have no Father in the house, what do the child do? Run wild and run loose. So they disconnected us from our Father. And then, like you said, put us in these positions. Of course, little Tyrone gonna go and steal.
Right.
Tyrone ain't got nothing at the house to eat.
Right.
Mama on crack. Why is the mama on crack? Because they put the crack in there. Don't forget about the crack epidemic. We forget about all these things. We ain't have no boats to bring this stuff in.
Right.
So it's a lot of reasons why we're in the condition. And also, the brother mentioned that we disconnect. But Micah 2:10 tell us what? This is not our land of rest.
Correct.
So we need to get the hell out of here.
Absolutely.
And we're actually doing some litigation. The only country in the world. I represent people on death row. It's interesting, this question of the death penalty. In many ways, we've been taught to think that the real question is, do people deserve to die for the crimes they've committed? And that's a very sensible question. But there's another way of thinking about where we are in our identity. The other way of thinking about it is not, do people deserve to die for the crimes they commit, but do we deserve to kill? I mean, it's fascinating. Death penalty in America is defined by error. For every 9 people who have been executed, we've actually identified one innocent person who's been exonerated and released from death row. A kind of astonishing error rate. 1 out of 9 people, innocent. I mean, it's fascinating. In aviation, we would never let people fly on airplanes if for every 9 planes that took off, 1 would crash.
The brother said, do people deserve to die for the crimes they commit?
Right.
Well, how many crimes has the white man committed on earth?
Bring it out.
I'm just curious. How many Native Americans did he put to death?
Millions.
How many so-called African Americans did he put to death?
Millions.
So this the same man set up a courthouse and tell you, all rise.
Right.
And then do you solemnly swear? But at the same time, this whole place is unjustly gotten and full of blood.
Correct.
Now, I just want to read the law because this have to be brought out.
Bring it out.
Exodus 21 and verse 16. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him. Now, officer, when we stole.
Absolutely.
And what we sold.
Absolutely.
So that's 2 laws right there.
That's it.
Okay. It said, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. That's what the Lord said.
That's judgment.
In the magnitude of things. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it ain't us, but that said the Lord. But I have to, one more because that just boiled my blood because our people don't understand this.
Right.
The white man that broke every law possible known to man, but yet and still he got a courtroom and still judging our people unjustly.
Making himself look righteous.
Just go ahead. Just making himself look righteous. You got to go ahead.
Bring that out. Bring that
because
out.
It just it's boiled my blood because they continue to do us wrong. And nobody pleads the cause, but the Lord is just God, right? This is Obadiah 1 and verse 13. For the day of the Lord is near upon all heathen, as thou hast done. It shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head, officer. So I just had to make that clear. You know
That's righteous judgment from God.
That's righteous judgment.
And the brother said, 1 out of 9 people on death row, they found innocent.
Right, that's what they found.
That's only what they found.
Right.
You think about somebody, this is somebody's life we're talking about. They so happen to find at least one person is innocent out of all the people on death row. The scriptures say in Exodus 23, you should not slay the innocent soul. But remember, this go back to Ezekiel 35, how America, Esau, they got a perpetual hatred. And what do? They shed the blood of the children of Israel. So all of this is by design. The Bible is real, man.
Which means they're going to continue to shed our blood back then to now.
But somehow we can insulate ourselves from this problem. It's not our problem. It's not our burden. It's not our struggle. Well, I talk a lot about these issues. I talk about a race and this question of whether we deserve to kill. And it's interesting, when I teach my students about African American history, I tell them about slavery. I tell them about terrorism, the era that began at the end of Reconstruction that went on to World War II. We don't really know very much about it. But for African Americans in this country, that was an era defined by terror. In many communities, people had to worry about being lynched. They had to worry about being bombed. It was the threat of terror that shaped their lives. And these older people come up to me now, and they say, Mr. Stevenson, you give talks, you make speeches, you tell people to stop saying we're dealing with terrorism for the first time in our nation's history after 9/11. They tell me to say, tell them that we grew up with that. And that era of terrorism, of course, was followed by segregation and decades of racial subordination and apartheid. And
hey, officer. A lot of people say the Caucasian race says that terrorism started in this country after 9/11, right?
Right.
Terrorism started in this country way before 9/11. The Native Americans were already here on this land.
Right.
Terrorism started when the conquistadors came from Spain and enslaved the Native Americans that were already here.
Right.
Raped our grandmothers, raped our great-grandfathers, and forced Christianity upon us. Terrorism started in this country during the transatlantic slave trade.
Right.
Terrorism started in this country during Jim Crow. Terrorism started in this country way before 9/11. They always tell us to forget about our past.
Right.
Forget about slavery, that was in the past. Well, 9/11 was in the past too.
Oh, right.
The 4th of July was in the past too. So if you're gonna keep telling us forget about our history, then you forget about yours too. Then
throw that out the window.
Right, but they'd be offended if we said that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Man, and that's the thing. Like the brother said, he teach African American history. If he knew that, like the Bible say in Romans 15 and 4, where it said things aforetime was written for our learning.
Right.
Like if he knew this is our history book that he need to be teaching, everything will be made plain and simple. Who they are, who we are, and why they continue to oppress us. It won't be no secret.
Right.
And like you said, they want us to celebrate these days. But guess what? Because if he was teaching this, he'll know that we're supposed to be celebrating Passover.
Right.
Destruction of the damn Egyptians for oppressing us. Feast of Dedication. Destruction of the Greeks, for oppressing us.
Right.
We'll know these things, Purim, So we understand, that our God is for us and us alone, and they can continue to have whatever they want in this society, and we can have what we want to have in our new kingdom.
Right. They bring us terror right now, but God gonna bring terror to them.
And yet we have in this country this dynamic where we really don't like to talk about our problems. We don't like to talk about our history. And because of that, we really haven't understood what it's meant to do the things we've done historically. And we're constantly running into each other. We're constantly creating tensions and conflicts. We have a hard time talking about race. And I believe it's because we are unwilling to commit ourselves to a process of truth and reconciliation. In South Africa, people understood that we couldn't overcome apartheid without a commitment to truth and reconciliation. In Rwanda, even after the genocide, there was this commitment. But in this country, we haven't done that. I was giving this lecture in Germany, some lectures in Germany about the death penalty. It was fascinating because one of the scholars stood up after the presentation and said, well, it's deeply troubling to hear what you're talking about. He said, well, we don't have the death penalty in Germany. And of course, we can never have the death penalty in Germany. And the room got very quiet, and this woman said, there's no way with our history we can ever engage in the systematic killing of human beings. It would be unconscionable for us to, in an intentional, deliberate way, set about executing people. And I thought about that. What would it feel like to be living in a world where the nation state of Germany was executing people, especially if they were disproportionately Jewish? I couldn't bear it. It would be unconscionable. And yet in this country, in the states of the Old South, we execute people where you're 11 times more likely to get the death penalty if the victim is white than if the victim is black, 22 times more likely to get it if the defendant is black and the victim is white. In the very states where there are buried in the ground the bodies of people who were lynched, and yet there is this
Hey, my team rowdy, my team do a blitz every county. My God put a price on your past the hand, and I'm pulling up for the bounty. On the block with the water, they drowning. No mercy, my haters confounded. My weapon to shake of the block when they're knocking, the prophets don't miss when they sound it.
And they shook, look, just because I'm reading out the book. Okay. I don't know how much bodies I done took.
I lost count.
All I know, your pastor about to get cooked.
Cookie.
Lie, look. Drink till when we come for the kill. It's the best, we don't care how you feel. Got bombers, but yo, don't test us. Cause we coming down with the wheel. We really bout it for real. From beginning to covering the seal. But the rest of we can't even chill.